Welcome to Growing Belleville Through Community Chats, a podcast presented by the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce to help highlight, promote, and enlighten people, businesses, and community events in the Greater Belleville area. Here are your hosts, Stephen Sedlak and Eric Huber.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Growing Belleville Through Community Chats. I am your co-host, Stephen Sedlak, along with the incomparable Mr. Eric Huber. How are we, Eric?
Doing well, Stephen. It is good to be back after a little hiatus. So ready to get up.
Since makes the heart grow fonder, is what they say, right?
That's right. Yep.
Oh, good. I know, like you said, we did take a little bit of hiatus. We are back. We're ready to roll. We got some good guests coming up here in the future as well, too. But today we have the gentleman from got Kevin and Patrick here with us. If you guys like to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Sure. I'm Pat Mathis. I'm an attorney here in Belleville with Mathis, Murphy, and Richter. We've been together, Kevin and I, for the last 40 years since we opened the firm, and my practice is primarily in the estate planning, business, and tax area. And Kevin and I have always shared a wall between our offices since we started practicing. That's a little tidbit of information.
Hi, I'm Kevin Richter. I'm also a shareholder here at the firm. As Pat mentioned, we've been together actually more than 40 years because we started at another firm previous to that. But when you look at where we're at now, we started actually in an office that was like 600 square feet. So it was easy to have walls adjoining one another at that time.
Here you are 40 years later, right? So congratulations on that. That is quite the accomplishment.
Thank you.
I guess, let's just start off kind of a little bit more, everybody always kind of has their humble beginning story, I guess, if you will, and kind of let's start there. I know you guys weren't in the office space that you're in now when you guys first started off, and you guys, of course, are a mainstay in the downtown square area, but kind of, just kind of touch on you guys getting your start and kind of your history over the last 40 years in a nutshell. We do try to keep this between 25 and 30 minutes, so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start it. So we started September 1st, 1984, and as I said, in a little office at 7705 West Main Street. It was a strip office building, and we were at the very end office, and there was basically three offices: a copy room, a little secretarial room, a library, and a conference room. And we started there, maintained that office. We had ourselves. George Murphy was also a shareholder with us. And then we had a retired special agent from the IRS, and then another retired IRS appeals officer working with us. And at that point, we were predominantly a tax firm working on a host of different tax matters. Pat, why don't you talk about the next growth?
What I was going to say about our first office is the walls were so thin that there was no such thing as a private conversation.
One client at a time.
But the rent was good. I think it was $600 a month. So it had a lot of appeal. That was some shortcomings. And from there, we grew a little bit. We moved down the street to an office that had another attorney in it. We bought the building. We added a couple of offices on to that building. And it was right at the intersection of Foley Drive and West Main Street, right across from Ace Hardware now. So, we grew, we expanded our client base, we hired a couple of associates who began working with us, and our practice expanded beyond, as Kevin said, initially we were largely doing tax work and corporate work. We began to expand to longer term clients that we were representing on an ongoing basis. And within a couple of years, we outgrew that space. We moved to downtown Belleville, where the police station is now.
So that was 720 West Main Street, and we were on the first floor, and you walked in, we were on the right-hand side and extended back. And we continued to grow. At that time, we added Laura Grandy as a shareholder who subsequently became a bankruptcy judge, but we did expanded into the bankruptcy and creditor relation practice, and we started adding litigation type lawyers who handled much more litigation than what Pat and I did previously. So from that aspect, we continue to expand into those areas, and litigation became greater when another firm, it was at that point when we added the additional attorneys from. So there was a firm in town that was basically a St. Louis branch of a St. Louis firm, and that firm was kind of seeding its Belleville office occupants, that practice, and we picked up quite a few attorneys from that maneuver, and that aided greatly to our growth. So at that point, I guess we almost doubled in size.
Right. In a fairly short period of time, we went from 4 lawyers to probably a dozen within just a couple of years. And it was a good move for us. They were good lawyers who were looking for a new home, and we were looking to expand our practice. So it was a nice fit and a nice way for us to grow. I don't know. It gave us a lot of expansion, and as Kevin said, it gave us the opportunity to work in some other areas, and so we were grateful for that. I would tell you that the rent on that space was more than any of the 3 of us made in the previous year when we were down at 7012 West Main. So it was a leap of faith, but we thought that the moving to a more professional commercial office building would give us the opportunity to bring aboard other attorneys who wanted to be in that type of an environment. And it would also allow us to attract clients, bigger clients, corporate clients that were looking for a bigger firm and maybe a more professional presence. So we actually had a game plan when we made that move to expand not only the scope of our practice on a client basis, but also the attorneys that we wanted to join us. There was a plan.
And fortunately, the plan played out. I mean, we were able to maintain that size. And at a certain point, we outgrew that space. There was no more expansion available, and that prompted the investigation and eventual moving to our present location, which was 20 years ago now.
20 years ago. By the way, we don't know whose office was converted into a holding cell for the police station. My suspicions, but I'm not, I've never made a tour of the police station.
No, I have, and it's called mine.
All right. The verdict is out then.
What position? I might add.
Oh, are them walls at the location? Are they a little bit thicker than the original walls at the original location?
Thankfully so.
As a matter of fact, we actually added extra insulation in the ceilings and in the walls because we had to, when we came into this spot, we actually cleared the entire floor and built the office custom-wise so that it met our needs exactly. So we started with a blank sheet, and we did put extra insulation in the walls and ceilings, and that part is actually played out.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Like Steven said, I mean, obviously 4 years, congrats to that. You know, that's kind of, you know, the celebration we're having you guys on here today. And you said there was planning, obviously, you know, you guys knew you were getting bigger, the growth, you guys kept moving kind of closer to downtown. And obviously now anyone who is from Belleville, been in Belleville, downtown, I mean, you see the name there on the beautiful glass building right on the square, right? You guys been there forever and they know the name. You know, did you guys envision that from day one all the way over on 7700 block? You know, when you had those discussion of growth and getting bigger, and like you said, Pat, you know, the rent was even larger than what you guys were making. Were those many, you know, sleepless nights? You know, what were those conversations like as your path kind of grew to downtown Belleville?
Well, you know, when we were in that first office, I can still remember Kevin and George and I sitting there in the conference room and talking about where we were and where we might go. And even then we thought that we could grow to around 20 lawyers. We thought that the market was such that we could see that expansion as we grew into other practice areas and the type of clientele that we were looking for. And our client base, even from the beginning, kind of covered all of Southern Illinois. We have clients that have ranged from Mount Vernon, Marion, Effingham, Mound City, although that client sold their business and retired, so I don't have to go to Mound City anymore, although that's from my father's hometown, so maybe I should not speak ill of the Mound City. But our client base, because of the type of work we do, the corporate work, the tax work, maybe the more sophisticated estate planning, we've always had referrals from attorneys and accountants kind of throughout the southern third of the state. And so we could see a demand for the type of work that we did and the opportunity to grow the firm around that type of practice. Did we know where we'd end up? No, but we could see opportunity to grow almost from the beginning. And so we ended up here on the square kind of by accident. We were actually looking to build a building out in O'Fallon, right at the interchange of Greenmount and 64. And that was 20 plus years ago, right? This building came up for sale and some of us got together and bought it. And then we moved some tenants around who were on the third floor. And as Kevin said, we just stripped the floor we're on down to the elevator shafts and started over. And, you learn by your mistakes. So we'd already screwed up 3 offices in trying to design them. So we got a little better as we went along. And so we laid this out and it's worked well for 20 years. I think it's done what we wanted it to do as far as the layout and having our conference rooms where they are and offices toward the back. But it also allowed us to build our presence in Belleville and St. Clair County. We're on the square. We get some name recognition, but we're also involved in a lot of community activities, and Kevin can probably talk more about those, but we've always had a commitment to Belleville, a commitment to being in Belleville and supporting the community and organizations within the community. I think that's part of it. That's a big part of being for want of a better term, a corporate citizen. You have to be a citizen of your community.
And I think that's a good point. It's not just the name on the building downtown that people recognize you guys from, which is always good, but the community involvement and the organizations that you guys are involved with that drives it home a little bit more, I feel like. Kevin, kind of, are those organizations? How did you get involved with them? And what's the future look like for you guys in that?
Well, I'll start with one that's near and dear to my heart is actually the Belleville Chamber. I started with the Belleville Chamber many years ago and was on the board of directors and rose through that to being president of the chamber and then hence on the executive committee. So that was a very worthwhile endeavor. I got to meet a lot of the people in the community and, see all the good things that Belleville Chamber does. I mean, they are a very civic-minded organization, and they work really hard in keeping the businesses in the forefront and doing what they can to promote the various businesses. So that the Belleville Chamber in itself is a very strong organization, and it continues to maintain its strong leadership through Wendy. Other items, one of the items that we here at the firm did individually is we created a foundation. And the foundation provides charitable distributions to many organizations through the year, and we promote that in part to get our employees to participate in that. On Fridays, we have Jean Day. If you want to wear jeans, you pay $5, and the firm matches those contributions to the foundation. In addition to that, the shareholders themselves make contributions to the foundation, and generally throughout the year, organizations are selected, and some significant gifts have been made through the years. And do you know how many total gifts that we've made through the years? $600,000, something like that, more, or even more than that. So, we've been very active through the foundation, and because there's so many good organizations and entities that are out there that help the people that really need the help. But I know we have some other involvement. Pat, why don't you cover those?
Well, we've been very active in Art on the Square. We've been sponsors of the high skill sculpture program, I think from the very first year, about 15 years ago, when they started that program. And to be honest, that's kind of gratifying. They bring in an outside artist, a sculptor, to work with one of the local schools every year. and they rotate between Belleville East and West and Altoff, and I think a couple of years Governor French. And the sculptor comes in and works with the art students on designing and building a sculpture piece, and you'll see those scattered all over town. There are a couple in front of Belleville French, there's some in front of Altoff, there's one at Belleville West. Actually, I think the first piece that went up at Belleville West was like a big metal teacup. And one day, one of our partners was out there for a volleyball tournament. And as she was pulling out, a lady in a minivan backed up and ran over the teacup and completely destroyed it. It's about a 6 or 8 foot high metal sculpture piece. And somehow she got her van in reverse and KO'd it. But it's still there. They rebuilt it and put it back. But when they put it back on campus, they moved it back about 10 feet from the driveway. I think they decided a little less safety. Yeah. So we're very involved in Artemis Square. We also have an area in both our office here in Belleville and our office in Edwardsville, kind of a gallery area down a corridor where we're set up to have local artists show their works. And we've got a hanging system so they can display various pieces and tell a little bit about the artist. And we just thought it was a good opportunity for local artists to be able to show their work in a local business. You know, people come in and we don't sell it, but we'll allow clients and employees and staff to contact the artist to provide contact information. So if somebody likes a piece, they can call the artist and buy a piece if they like. So, and we have our Christmas card annually designed by a local artist. We have a little competition where schools and the local artist guilds can have their members submit a Christmas card design. And then every year we pick one out and we give an award to the artist as well as their sponsoring organization, whether it be a school or the Metro East Artist Guild or whatever. So we're fairly heavily involved in the local art community. And if you come in the office, you'll see we have a lot of pieces on display that are either from local artists or from Art on the Square. And that's, I think, been one of our signature programs that we support in the community.
One thing I would mention that should be near and dear to Eric's heart is Pat and I and other shareholders. We sponsor a lot of baseball teams. When our kids were younger, we would support the team, have the team named after us, supply the uniforms, whatever it may be. So that was one of the more enjoyable portions, not just the sponsorship, but being able to coach and manage the team that, you know, your kid was on and get to meet their friends, and just a very enjoyable time. Unfortunately, my kids are all.
Oh, you sponsor those grandkids teams.
Well, I figured, you know, that's awesome. I mean, obviously it's awesome with the baseball sponsors, awesome with the baseball sponsorship. And I think that touches too, obviously, like you said, kind of local, even give back, support family, probably even more so. You know, it's tough finding companies out there that, you know, support different family events type of deal. I know I can speak personally for, you know, Bank of Springfield. They do the same thing. You know, if a small donation request comes from, you know, my daughter's grade school or something, I mean, they're on top of it. They love to help out, you know, all of our kids' stuff locally. So just shows the touch that you guys have, obviously, you know, supporting those local teams and kid activities and family activities of your employers.
It's not just you guys. Your attorneys and your staff are involved in the community as well too. Is that something you guys kind of encourage or push, or is that just something that a lot of your employees and attorneys kind of do on their own, kind of by seeing you guys lead by example, I guess?
I think it's a combination. I think you're right. We do our best to encourage our employees and staff and attorneys to become involved, whether it's the marathon or we have a food drive in the office, a Jeans Day where we have staff suggest organizations to support, and then they know that the firm matches their donations, so they're able to kind of leverage the causes that they would like to support with support from the firm. But I think it's not just our encouragement, it's the fact that we have people who really believe in and are dedicated to doing things for the community and for people in the community. That's a big deal. And we believe that whether somebody's an attorney, a new attorney, a senior attorney, new staff person, somebody who's been with us for a long time, we really hope and feel that we have a family atmosphere, that people know each other and treat each other as friends, not just coworkers that come and go without knowing much about how we exist outside of the office. I think that's important. I think that's always been important from the very beginning. Even as we brought attorneys on board over the years, and we've always made it a criterion, first of all, that we thought that they had the skills that we needed and wanted to have, and secondly, that they would be a good fit with us as an organization, with not just the partners, but with other associates and with the staff, because it is a working environment, and some days it's easier than others. Minimizing stress is an important part of that. I'm sure it's that way in your jobs just as much as ours, but it is important.
And, the one civic item that doesn't require much pushing to get people involved with is manning the beer stand at the chili cook-off. We sign up for the work at a beer stand at a certain time frame, and those slots go quick.
Dude, you got to be on the ball of the ground, though. So I know I've missed out the last 2 years on it. I'm not happy about it, but
I was going to say, I'm just more jealous of the office space where you guys get to just walk right down the stairs, right into the chili cook-off and all the events.
They're good except when the band starts playing at noon and your office is right across from the bandstand.
I'll do much, are they?
I'll mention real quick, at one point, many years ago, we sponsored a stand that presented chili, made the chili and, sold it. And so our kitchen was converted into a stove and a a chili maker. And they would put it in wagons and pull it to the elevator, and it would splash over the sides. And I was so done what we stopped doing then. That was why.
You just get to enjoy all the chilies.
Now we just enjoy it.
Plus, our office smelled like a kitchen for about 2 weeks.
As Kevin, Pat, we appreciate your time. We want to be respectful of your time as well, too. We're coming up on about 25 minutes. Is there anything, you guys would like to add here, so we kind of wrap up?
We appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, and we appreciate the opportunity to be in Belleville. I mean, I know we support the community, but the community also supports us. The Chamber has been a good friend to our firm for a long time, and the city government, county government, and frankly, a lot of our clients are from Belleville. And so it's a mutually beneficial arrangement, I think, for everyone involved. And I think that's what the businesses in Belleville appreciate, is that they support the community and the community supports them. So we appreciate this opportunity to talk with you and hopefully share a little of our background.
And I would just end up by saying, for those organizations, individuals that listen to this presentation, to say, provide incentives, do what you can, do your support for the community as well. That's what's going to make this area improve year after year. So thank you.
You're more, and I'd like to say that the city of Belleville is honored to have you guys as part of it for the last 40 years, and cheers on that, and continued success in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Growing Belleville Through Community Chats podcast. Please remember to follow and subscribe to this podcast and share with your friends and community leaders. For additional information from this podcast, please reach out to the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce.